Hello, everyone, and welcome to the True to Myself podcast. As I always say, stay true to who you are, know that hard times will end, and God will bless you. So, I'm going to be diving into a little bit more on my grief side of this podcast and just talking about what life looks like after loss and things that people don't talk about. First thing first, I want to shed light on just the grief that I am going through. If you haven't listened to the beginning of this podcast and if you don't know me personally, back in May of 2025, I lost my mom to a tragic accident unexpectedly. And I don't really want to talk too much about the nature of that accident and how everything happened. I think I want to make that its own episode, but I do want to start talking about the unspoken parts that I have felt and haven't shared since losing my mom 7 months ago. So, first things first, there are so many silent changes that one goes through when they lose something that grand, like a parent. Losing my mom was my worst nightmare. I never thought that I would ever survive a day that happened, and I barely did, to be quite honest. I was on the brink of losing myself, and one of the main things that I told my boyfriend after my mom passed away, I told him, please don't allow me to lose myself, because it's so easy to get lost in your grief and to feel like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. I'm never going to find the light in that darkness. And I was really scared that I wasn't going to be able to still be myself through everything that has happened. Immediately after losing my mom, there was an immediate shift in my consciousness. Like, it felt like a thunderstorm and a rain cloud that just would not pass for a very long time. And I had no idea like where to turn, who to look for, what to do when I was having those thoughts and emotions. And the one person that I did know that would help me get through these emotions that I was feeling was my mom. Like, she's the anchor to my storm in any storm that I've ever had. And now that I didn't have her, I just was, it felt honestly like a child being left behind in a big world of so many moving pieces and so many moving parts and so many scary things. And I had nowhere to ground myself. And in the blink of an eye, my grief immediately turned into so many different scary emotions that I wasn't expecting to feel so soon. It was one of those things where a lot of my routines also changed because, one, my mom was the only parent I've ever had in my life. I didn't have my biological father in my life at all. My mom was the only person that my siblings and I knew in a day-to-day cycle of constantly speaking to one another, texting one another, FaceTiming one another, being on the phone, seeing each other at work. Because me and my mom, we also worked at the same hospital. And me, my mom, and my sister and my brother also volunteered at that hospital. So we all were seeing each other in a routine once a week, multiple times a week. It was like a clockwork thing that we knew what to expect. And after I lost my mom, I only took about a week off of work because in the job that I do, if you don't have the time to be off, there's no way for you to be off. And I also, my mom always told me, like, one, take care of yourself, but two, don't let yourself get behind on the priorities that I had in life. And at that time, I'm a big girl. I have my own apartment. I have bills that need to be paid. I can't not work because I need to pay my bills. Okay. And literally, it changed the way that I looked at my life. It changed the way I perceived the world. It changed my relationships. It changed so many different things that once felt comfortable did not feel comfortable anymore. Like, I felt so out of body. Like, I didn't feel present. I didn't feel like my consciousness was connected to my body. Like, I felt like Linnea physically was here, but Linnea mentally and spiritually was in a completely different place. Okay. And I did shed light to this as well at my mom's funeral. I did a speech for her and I shed light on the relationship that we had and who she was to me and all the things that she's taught me growing up. And it was so crazy because I feel like the one thing that was my anchor in that storm when I didn't have my mom was God. Without God, without the Holy Spirit being able to cover me, I truly would not have made it out. There were so many days that I cried out to no one else but God. And I said, God, please help me. God, please cover me. God, please give me the strength to keep going on for my family, because somebody had to do it. I needed to be that strong, not even strong. I needed to be that person that helped my family get to the things that we needed to be doing, because there were so many things that needed to be done right after my mom passed that if I would allow my grief to take over me, it wouldn't have got done, and it would have delayed a lot of things that we needed at that time. So I think once I felt that shift, I immediately felt lost, confused, hurt, angry, scared, all at once. It was a very overwhelming feeling that I didn't really know how to navigate or process by myself. And I think it also changed my friendships, because before losing my mom, I think a lot of times, like, my friends and my family and my peers, like, I was always this strong face. Like, I always had this persona that I'm good. Like, I didn't cry. Not that I didn't, girl. Y'all know I cried, but I didn't show people that I was emotional. I didn't have a lot of like emotions that I did show. And if I did show it, it was only rare or with a select few of people. But I think the main thing that it changed within my friendships is just how I see situations and the way that I analyze things that are happening around me. And the first few months after my mom passed, I noticed that I was pushing people away a lot more than I've ever done in my life. And I think the nature of how I lost my mom really instilled fear in me that if somebody isn't with me, or if I don't know what's going on outside of my first person view, kind of piggybacking on what I talked about in the first episode with anxiety, my anxiousness was just constantly going. It was like a mouse on a hamster on a hamster wheel. Like, literally, my fear of something happening to people was just at an all-time high. Like, I didn't know what to do if I didn't know where my peoples were. Like, I had to make sure people were constantly checking in with me, like my boyfriend and my siblings and stuff. And like, I didn't really want anybody close to me in that moment, because if something happened to them, I didn't know what was going to happen to me. Like, I felt like it truly was going to crush my spirit. It truly was going to break me even more than I was already broken. And I think I was really hurting myself, though, because I was pushing away connection and support that I needed in that moment and that I was longing for. Because also, as I'm pushing people away, I'm also feeling like, well, why aren't people reaching out to me? Why aren't people wanting to come be with me at my house? Why aren't people wanting to come sit with me in my grief? Like, what is going on? But I think when people were reaching out to me and saying, hey, are you okay? Do you need anything? I was telling people, I'm getting by day, but I'm good. Like, I'm okay. When I should have let them know, like, no, I really need someone. I really need you to be here with me and be vulnerable and honest about what I truly was feeling. But I think, granted, in those first several weeks, the people that did reach out to me constantly and checked up on me, they knew that I was having a hard time. Like, my boyfriend's family, I'm gonna constantly shout them out, because they still are the main people outside of my very close relatives, like my siblings and my nana, that genuinely reach out to me and make sure that I'm okay, or are constantly checking in on me. And it's something that I truly appreciate, because it reminds me that I don't need to have that many people in my circle or my cohort that I can be vulnerable with in my grief, but I do need to be honest to people that aren't within those few people about how I'm truly feeling, and not bottle up the emotions that I'm having to save someone else's feelings. Like, that does me no good. That's actually doing a disservice to me. So it's something that I am starting to be more comfortable with today, and just truly talking about how I'm feeling, and not walking on eggshells, and not fucking putting a big ass rug over the elephant in the room that my mom died. I'm not Linnea that I was at the beginning of this year, and I'm not the same Linnea that I was that what, girl? I'm not the same Linnea that I ever was. What? No, that's not how I want to say that either. I'm not the same Linnea that I was, and I don't think I ever will be again. That's what I was trying to say. Okay. So, yeah. And I think it's really sad too, though, because I feel like a lot of times, even right now, 7 months later, I do feel really lonely. And it's actually interesting because my best friend's boyfriend's cousin actually reached out to me. Shout out Kyla if you're listening to this. But she texted me and she was like, hey, I was just thinking about you. And she sent me like a long, sweet paragraph of just constantly praying for me and praying over my family. And it's something that I really needed in that moment of when she sent it, because I started to really feel forgotten about. Like, granted, people know that my mom passed because I post about it and I talk about it on my Instagram stories a lot. But a lot of people in my personal life don't really ask me how I'm doing with my grief. They ask me how I'm doing, but they don't really ask me like how I'm doing with my grief and where I'm at with my grief journey. And I think how I'm doing physically and emotionally is completely different sections for my grief and just me as a being and me as a young woman, because I think there's so many things that I'm navigating with work, school, life, relationships, but then also that's one chunk. But then I also have a whole nother chunk of grief, loss, hurt, anger, trying to be this pedestal for my family to be able to get shit done that we need to get shit done, and also still be there for my nieces and still be able to talk about my mom with my nieces and talk about her with other people, and like, what does that look like and how does that feel? That's the part a lot of people don't truly always ask about, and that's the part that I sometimes really just want to talk about. Like, I am a very talkative person, hence why I started a podcast. And I love to talk about the things that I'm feeling and the emotions that I have. But a lot of people, my therapist told me, are uncomfortable with talking about things like that. And I don't know why. I think it's something that was built in our society, and it really sucks that it is the way that it is. It really sucks that it's the way that it is, because I think it's something that people should talk about more. We should talk about things that are uncomfortable, because it will break the barrier of feeling like you can't talk about grief, because each person is different. And granted, I may not be a person that if you bring up my mom, then I'm going to crumble. But I think bringing up my mom to me makes me feel like, okay, like I can talk about her, because a lot of times I feel like I can't, because somebody said something on a video that I saw one day. It's like, when you bring up the person that you lost, people's face changes immediately. Like, you can see the sadness come over them. You can see the like weight that it's getting placed on them to feel obligated to have to talk about it. But I want to talk about it. Like, these things are the things that I want to share. Like, I have so many stories about my mom that I want to allow other people in on, and be able to feel like, okay, we can lean on each other, because I know my mom touched so many different people just outside of my family. And I want to have that space for, like I said it at the memorial that we had at my job with my mom's coworkers and colleagues and people that she had close for her peers and stuff. I told them, like, I want us to lean on one another in any way we can, because the same way my mom was a rock in my life, I know she was that for many different people in many different forms and shapes. So I just want it to be something that's comfortable and not uncomfortable to be able to talk about. And it's also one of those things too that makes it hard with friendships, because I don't really know how to be open to that as well, because I think open to let me digress. I don't know how to really be open to the vulnerable state that I want to be in with my friends, because I think naturally before my mom's passed, I was always the person that people would lean on, and I never really leaned on a lot of people. Like, I was kind of the friend that people would come to if they needed advice, or come to if they needed to talk about something or vent and do these things. But I don't think I was ever truly that friend that was doing the calling. And that's why it's a little bit harder for me to pivot that, because now I'm the friend that's in need of wanting to do that outreaching, but I don't know how, because I've never done it before. So one thing that has been really helpful is like my best friend Angie. Recently, we were talking and we planned a day for us to just have a best friend sleepover, just how we used to do when we were in middle school and high school. Like, we would literally spend weeks together. Like, I was always at her house. I was always spending the night at her house every weekend, every other weekend. We were always together. And it was so nice to do something that felt nostalgic but also needed in the season that I'm in, because like I mentioned, I have my own place, but my friends don't ask to come here a lot of times, and my friends don't ask to come over, or, well, I guess it's partially me too. I could ask my friends to come over, but like I said, I'm not really that friend. I was never that friend that was going to text you and call you and say, I need you to be here. And that's what I'm trying to work through and build more courage with. Of, hint on my last episode, pressure of being the strong one and not feeling like I have to keep all my shit close to the chest and feeling like I can actually talk about these things. So I'm learning to be more open about the things that I am feeling and going through, because it is a battle to get out of my head, but every battle can be won, and it's not something that I should hold myself back from and not give myself that opportunity to express the things that I do need and feel. And the next thing that I want to talk about is just how your identity shifts from losing the person that was, like, I don't even know how to describe my mom, because she was so amazing. Like, I'm speechless when it comes to her, because she was truly a woman that cared for everyone, gave all of herself to the people around her, had the biggest heart, the biggest smile, the best spirit, the best laugh. Like, it's she was just amazing, and she is amazing. I don't want to say was, because she still is amazing to me, and she's somebody that I will forever look up to and be inspired by, for the way that I want to carry myself and how I want to be remembered as well. Because hearing so many people talk about her and who she is makes me proud to be her daughter. Like, I am so proud to be my mom's daughter. And I think my mom always called me her mini me. So it's like, after she passed away, I immediately felt that embodied over me. And I immediately felt like I am mini her. I feel like I feel her with me all the time. I see the similarities and the qualities that she passed to me, and I feel the identity that she always spoke over me. Like, my mom, she spoke so much life into me, and so much grace and wisdom and courage, and just all the best words you can ever think of. She constantly poured that over me in my life, and I can see now that she is just telling it how it is. And I feel it. I feel the change that I've made, and the change that I've formed into. And it's so interesting, because that night that she passed away, I immediately felt like that shift. Like, I don't know, I can't even explain it to you, but I immediately felt that shift of like, okay, there's shoes that need to be filled, not in the same capacity, but in the way that she was for every pocket of our family. The way for my nieces, my mom showed up for them, and she did so much for them, and she was their world. And my nieces love me and my mom. They love us, but my mom, like I said, she was just this amazing person that I didn't want that void to be something that changed every relationship that I have. I didn't want it to be something that drove a wedge between my siblings and I. I didn't want it to be something that drove a wedge into my nieces feeling like life is very different. Like, I know it's different for them, but I try to be as present as possible so they don't have to think about it as much. And they may still think about it, but I try to do things that my mom would do and think about her and the way that she carried herself and how she was always making sure she was in every place to be there for people while also still taking care of myself. So it's so interesting, that identity shift and just feeling like I need to step into my womanlyhood and step into this new version of Linnea that's not the same baby girl Linnea that is a grown woman Linnea, because it's now time to put these big girl panties on. I'm having them on halfway. One leg was in, now both legs is in, and it's time to fucking lace these bitches up and do the things that my mom would want me to be doing. So yeah, I think I'm gonna do a part 2 of this episode, because I have a lot of things that I want to talk about, but I want to be very strategic in the way that I do talk about them, because I don't want to just babble on and on and on about the same things. And I feel like so far I've touched on a lot of things that have been weighing on my heart with life after loss, but I think there's different layers to loss and what life looks like after it. And I think the first 2 layers of the shift you feel in your friendships, the shift you feel in yourself, the shift you feel in just life is immediate. And I'm still kind of gradually working through the other parts of the shift. That's why I feel like I want to do a part 2 just on that other side of it. So yeah, I'm so glad again that you all are here. I'm so happy to have this space just to talk about the things that I'm feeling. I don't know if this part 2 is going to be immediately after this episode. It may be after another episode, because again, grief is going to be the rest of my life, and life after it is going to be the rest of my life. So it's no pressure to do it right now in this moment. But I think, yeah, I have so many different things that I want to touch on, and I want to pray on it and think about it a little more before I start talking about it, just so I feel like I'm doing it the correct way that I truly want to. And those other 2 topics, I feel like I did, and I think I could leave it at that. So yeah, I think here for this episode, one question for my journal entry. Let me go ahead and start that over. So if you're new to the podcast and this is your first episode listening, at the end of every episode, I do a journal entry and I talk about one of the few things that I may have touched on in the episode, and I answer the questions for myself, and I also want my audience to answer it for themselves. So for today's episode, my question to you is, how can you show up for yourself going into the new year and keep it a consistent project for yourself? Not even project. How can you keep it consistent for yourself to make sure that you're showing up for you all year long? And for me, the way that I'm going to show up for myself is to go on more solo dates. Like, I'm super excited to start doing things that I've wanted to do, get into arts and crafts, because I'm learning now that I actually do love art. I love all forms of art. I love dance. I love creating. I love video editing. I love coloring. I love drawing. I love doodling. Like, I just love the arts. And I've recently been loving pottery painting, so now I want to learn how to make my own pottery and then paint it. Like, I feel like that'll be such a fun hobby to start doing, and I can make my own dishware, and yeah, I'm super excited. So for me, the one thing that I'm going to do to take care of myself going into this new year, new me, no, I'm kidding. Going into this new year is just going on more solo dates. So for y'all out there, what is one thing that you can do to start pouring into yourself and taking care of yourself more with this new year? And feel free to leave a comment of what you're going to decide to do on this episode and let me know. I love to get new ideas of what the girls are doing out there, the girls, the guys, and the gays. What are y'all doing out there? I'd love to know. And I want to see just how we can all interact with each other and give different ideas and pivot back and forth on how we're going to pour into us and fuel our soul in this new year. So thank you so much for being here. And as I always say, stay true to who you are. Know that hard times will end and God will bless you. And until next time on the True to Myself podcast, my name is Linnea and I love you all. Stay safe out there. And I hope you guys have a wonderful new year.